What's up team, I'm former United States Army Ranger Joshua Thompson. Today I'll be giving you guys my opinion on what the best route to take is if you guys are still in the process of deciding on whether you want to go to SF or the 75th Ranger Regiment. This is all based on my own experience. Yes, I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, so I may be a little biased. That being said, I'll be going over a list of pros and cons, not just based on my own observations, but based on the conversations I've had with SF dudes, my own battalion, and then at the end I'll present to you guys what I think is the best option is for you specifically based on your certain situation. But before I get into any of that, if you guys like videos just like this, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, Rangers lead the way. So we're gonna go over why you guys should specifically go into RASP, or why I believe you guys should go into RASP if you guys fall into the category of these specific situations. So the first scenario is if you are 19 years or younger, because SFAS requires you to be at least 20 years old. So that way, when you actually earn your Green Beret, you're 21 years old, they do have that requirement because they're looking for people with more life experience. They're looking for people who have that emotional maturity. And so this is also the reason why you may want to develop yourself and find yourself as a person first, going into the RASP and into the 75th Ranger Regiment first, so that you can find some experience, some life experience, some experience going overseas, finding yourself as a person, so that way you do develop that maturity, you do develop that leadership, that presence that they are looking for. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I went to SFAS straight from joining the military, I probably would have failed because my personality was really passive back then. I didn't have much presence, my leadership was underdeveloped, so in that kind of environment, I would have not been as successful. And so I needed to develop myself, and going through RASP, being in regiment, going on deployments, getting that experience, that's going to be invaluable for people who just need to develop their voice. Another thing is, if you guys join the 75th Ranger Regiment, you are going to have more direct action. You're going to kick down more doors. You're going to have more experience when it comes to infantry. And even if you aren't infantry, you are going to dial down your specific MOS to such a proficiency that isn't seen in the conventional army very often, other than if you get lucky and you get assigned to those positions as an SF support unit or whatever. So what are exactly all the pros when it comes to just joining specifically the 75th Ranger Regiment? I think it is the best route for you younger guys, for those who haven't developed their leadership, they haven't developed your voice yet. I think that the 75th Ranger Regiment is a perfect environment. It's a stressful environment that's going to sharpen your skills, your leadership, and make you find your voice. And then you'll have the skills and experience necessary in order to go to SFAS and it'd be highly successful there. That being said, you do not want to use the 75th as a stepping stone because it is a constant stress test of you meeting the standard. And if you can't meet the standard and maintain a high proficiency in your physical fitness, in showing up at the right time with the right uniform, with the right attitude, if you can't do that kind of fundamental, it is going to be extremely draining and you're going to burn out soon in that kind of environment. Another pro, this is probably the main reason why people choose the 75th Ranger Regiment over other special operations units, is because the 75th Ranger Regiment is probably the most stable when it comes to stability in your life, because the training cycle, the deployments, they're all extremely fairly short. You're going to deploy often, sure, but you're more than often than not, you're going to be home with your family, and it's easier to maintain those relationships in your life versus if you go to SF. So majority of the year, you're going to be stateside, which is next to your family or your friends. It's going to be easier to maintain those relationships. Additionally, the pipeline for the 75th Ranger Regiment is way shorter, obviously. RASP is only 8 weeks long. If you count Ranger School and Airborne as well, that is only around 19, 20 weeks. In addition, assuming that you go straight through all these schools, the trade-off is once you reach the 75th Ranger Regiment, you do have that constant pressure of you can get RFS, you can get kicked out of this unit, and because of that, you have to maintain the standard and therefore your spot isn't permanent, so you have to prove yourself every single day, which can be seen as a con, but that transitions into the next pro. The culture in the 75th Ranger Regiment it can be seen as highly stressful, very fast paced, but I personally see that as a positive. Because you're expected to perform every single day, you're expected to maintain this high standard in every aspect of the job, that only sharpens you as a performer. You don't get lackadaisical. You're always making sure that you stay sharp, you're staying ready, so that when you do get called upon to go deploy, you do get called upon to train up other individuals. Once you reach that level, it maintains this high standard across the board, no matter what, because it is expected of you. And if you don't, there's that possibility that you get kicked out. I also said this in my last video, a lot of people don't usually do the thing unless they're forced to, and because this culture in the 75th Ranger Regiment forces you to do that, forces you to maintain this high standard, I see that as a positive. A lot of people can see that as a negative because of the amount of pressure that it can cause, and it can cause a lot of burnout in various amounts of Rangers. And that leads me to the first con. The 75th Ranger Regiment is a stressful environment. You're constantly going to be pressured to maintain the standard, whether that's PT, showing up on time, whatever it is expected of you. You're expected to perform and pass every school that you're sent to. You're expected to maintain this high standard at all times, and a lot of individuals who join the 75th Ranger Regiment find out that might not be the lifestyle that fits them properly, and so that could be another reason why they switch over to something more quiet and professional like SF. Another con for the 75th Ranger Regiment, because the pipeline is shorter, you are not going to get the same level of training and attention to detail that Special Forces and Green Berets get. But that also is because it's job specific. You're going to be very good at this one thing versus SF, they have this huge tool set. And then the last con, if you are someone who's a little bit older and you appreciate more of a mature environment, then the 75th Ranger Regiment might not be for you, because there are a lot of younger guys who come straight out of high school, they're going straight into the 75th Ranger Regiment, and because of that, there can be individuals who don't have that emotional maturity. So, something to think about. But anyways, I'm going to go into why you should go into the SF. This is the reasons that I've seen based on my own observation and my conversations with individuals who were or are Green Berets. And I think you should go SF if you are an older individual, you're looking for that more mature environment, you are someone who has that experience in life, and you're looking for that professional environment. SF probably is more of a better fit for you. And since you do have that experience, you are technically who they're specifically looking for. You do have to be at least 20 years of age, but I think majority of you who are actually thinking of going into SF are probably a little bit older anyways. Additionally, SF is more of a laid back, relaxed environment. Once you get into SF, from what I hear, is you don't have that constant pressure on you to perform like you do in the 75th Ranger Regiment. And whether or not you see that as a positive or negative, it really just depends on what you value. Personally, I like that stress so that I can keep sharp. Also, if you go SF, they're going to give you a whole lot more opportunities to go do more training, to do more military schools that you guys want to do. And that's on top of the schools you're already required to go to, versus the 75th Ranger Regiment. You don't have language school, you don't have free fall, unless, of course, for your specific MOS, you're required to learn that language. Otherwise, you're not going to get that extensive training specifically that SF is going to get, because SF has a broader mission set, which is another reason why you probably want to go SF, is because they do have that broader mission set, which includes unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, and then advising allied forces, training them, whatever it is. But if we look into the pros and cons of joining specifically SF, based on your circumstances, if you go SF, it is going to be the more mature route. It's going to be more of a quiet professional environment where there's less pressure, because once you make it, you've made it. Unless you significantly underperform, you're pretty much there to stay. One of the biggest cons, one of the things that I personally didn't want to join SF specifically for, was that you are not going to have any stability when you are stateside. In SF, you're constantly going to be deployed. Your deployments are going to be significantly longer. They call it a single man's game for a reason, just special operations as a whole, but you are going to have a significantly less amount of stability in terms of your relationships at home, in terms of your relationships when it comes to your family, your significant other. Additionally, the pipeline is so much longer, guys, 8 weeks versus a year. Obviously, you do need to pick up those skills that are necessary in order to join, but it is a huge commitment, and it is going to take a significant chunk of time in order to complete. I may sound extremely biased because I went to the 75th Ranger Regiment, but that being said, these are things to consider. And guys, it's not uncommon to be in the 75th Ranger Regiment and then later on down in your career, go SF. All right, it just depends on where you're at. It depends on your values. Anyways, guys, those are my honest thoughts about it. I hope that painted a picture for that specific situation you're in and gave you a little bit of clarity on what decision you want to make and what you're leaning more towards now, and which unit fits you more in terms of your core values. If you're kind of like me and you need to get out of your shell, you need to find your voice, I recommend going first to RASP, even if you are a little bit older. Gain that experience, find your voice, find out who you are, and then once you do gain that experience, then go SF. Or you might find that the 75th Ranger Regiment aligns more with your core values, aligns with more of trying to push yourself to be better because you're surrounded by all these high performers all the time. Are you someone who values maturity, a quiet professional environment like Special Forces, or you're someone like me, you need that constant pressure to keep sharp, to keep being at your highest level all the time? I hope this video gave you guys clarity in your decision. But if you guys found this video informative in any way, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. If you guys thought I missed anything or would like to add your thoughts, comment down in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.